மனமார்ந்த நன்றியை தெரிவிக்க விரும்புகிறேன். என்னோட சொந்த ஊர் மெட்ராஸ் தான், but I'm going to speak in English. I just wanted to first extend a warm welcome to all our friends, journalist friends from the city of Chennai. Today is a very special day. We are hosting the York University, one of Canada's leading university in India, as a part of an effort to promote India-Canada higher education partnership. York University, besides being a leading university, is strongly committed to India and to promote education and empowerment among Indian students. This visit of the presidential delegation of York University, along with several of the deans of the schools of York University, has 5 major objectives. First, the objective is for two nations who are deeply committed to democracy and shared values to come together with a view to recognizing the role and importance of education and how it can shape the future of the lives of young people. Second, the objective is to recognize how research, knowledge creation, and ultimately publications can advance scholarship in both countries, and how universities can be at the forefront for promoting that research. Third, to recognize the extraordinary role of how many students have played in Canada's social, intellectual, and political and cultural life. Many generations of Indian students have studied in Canada and in York University, and that is part of an effort to bring together opportunities for Indian students to study in York University, but also to what extent York University can also have a significant intellectual presence in India. During this visit to the city of Chennai, York University visited one of the universities here in Chennai, the Vinayaka Mission and Research Foundation. We've been having discussions about possible collaborations. Earlier, we were in Kolkata, where we had a visit to Adamas University, and the whole purpose of that was to connect with other Indian institutions so that we can deepen the relationship between York and some of leading India's institutions. The fourth objective of this visit is to be able to engage with students and other stakeholders in the education sector. To advance that objective, just a couple of hours later in the evening, at around 5:30 p.m., we are hosting a higher education conclave, which will have principals and vice chancellors and deans of various universities, principals and leaders and counselors and others from school sector, and also from think tanks and research institutions in the city of Chennai, to have a dialogue and as a part of a India-Canada higher education conclave focusing on partnerships and collaboration. And the last objective is to recognize to what extent empowerment of Indian students through scholarships and fellowships will be able to create opportunities for these students in studying in Canada. I'm happy to report that OP Jindal Global University had signed a memorandum of understanding with York University several years ago as a part of our law school. That was a relationship that has been built over the last decade. But during this visit of the president of York University, a few days ago, she visited our campus along with our deans, and we signed a memorandum of understanding which is now taking that relationship that was confined only to the law school to other schools of our university. We are hoping to establish student exchange programs, dual degree programs, short-term study abroad programs, inward mobility immersion programs, and many other collaborative endeavors that can have a substantive impact on the life of students and faculty at OP Jindal Global University. The visit of York University to the city of Chennai and the state of Tamil Nadu is also to appreciate and understand the diversity of Indian states in relation to advancing the cause of higher education. Into space, especially the successful Mars and Moon missions that India had. We spent a fraction of the amount that a typical Western country would have to spend when it comes to undertaking successful missions to both Mars and Moon, and India is able to provide fantastic scientists who come from outstanding institutions across the country who are able to provide leadership, and that is something that the Western universities, especially York universities, will be well poised to imbibe and to get inspired. So with those words, I want to once again recognize the president of York University, Professor Rhonda Lenton, but also her distinguished colleagues and deans of various schools of York University, which she will introduce to India and to the city of Chennai. Thank you very much for your presence. I will be happy to take questions shortly. May I now invite Professor Rhonda Lenton, the President of and Vice Chancellor of York University, to share her thoughts. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for coming out. It's really a pleasure to be able to join you in this beautiful city tonight. I would like to just take a moment before I give a few remarks to acknowledge and to thank Vice Chancellor Siraj Kumar of OP Jindal Global University for his support and his generosity in our partnership, but also in us being able to have these conversations in a number of cities throughout India. I'm Rhonda Lenton. I'm the 8th Chancellor, Vice Chancellor actually, and President of York University, and I'm really excited to be back in India. I've been to India several times, and the goal fundamentally with this visit is to really strengthen our existing partnerships and to forge new partnerships that we're together with other universities and across different sectors. We can strengthen the impact that we're having on improving the conditions of the communities that rely on us. York has had quite a long history in India, and our goal right now is to see how we can leverage globalization, how we can leverage our global partners with very specific strategic partners, and by doing that to actually enhance the impact that we are having, in particular, in taking up the complex problems that face the world right now. Even prior to the pandemic, there were a number of emerging global issues, whether or not you want to talk about poverty or inequality, climate change, the pandemic, of course, geopolitical tensions, any one of these problems. They cannot easily be taken on by either one country, one university, one sector. You really need to bridge and to consolidate collaboration across sectors and across countries if we're going to take on these issues. And this has only been sped up by the pandemic. And post-pandemic now, we have a real opportunity to strategically pick some universities, to partner with some universities in strategic countries where we can make a far, far faster set of progress on these issues by working together. And I want to say that India and Canada are natural partners. It doesn't mean that there aren't tensions from time to time, but universities in particular are able to act as those conveners and to forge those partnerships. And when you think about India and Canada, we're both pluralistic societies, we're both in very inclusive societies, we're democracies, we're both very committed to driving positive change and to working together on the global stage. I want to say that York University is also an excellent partner. For those of you who don't know us very well, our vision is to provide a broad demographic of students with access to a high-quality, research-intensive university that is committed to improving the well-being of the communities that we serve. That's always been part of our vision, that social justice component, and bringing together access, actually driving excellence with inclusion, and doing that in partnership, and therefore being able to have an oversized impact in driving positive change. When we look at what's happening now in the world and why is that important, if you think about that vision, talent, and making sure that what we do is translated into making a difference, this is key. And by working in partnership collaboratively together, we can think very strategically about how making sure that we're not leaving any talent behind. We can't afford to leave any talent behind. And so both countries are interested in increasing the percentage of our population who has a university education so that they can do their part in contributing. And we can do that much more strongly through collaboration and partnership, and therefore, as I've said, have a bigger impact on, as measured by, for example, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. York is already done a lot in India historically. Some of you may know that we have a campus since 2013. It's a small campus that offers the Schulich. It's a partnership with GMR. It offers the Schulich 2-year MBA. Students do 1 year in Hyderabad, and they do 1 year at York University. That's been running even before the more recent national education policy. We, as was mentioned by the Vice Chancellor, we had a long-standing partnership with Jindal Global University in the law schools, about how the law schools could work together to take on complex issues. And this most recent MoU was to go beyond the law schools and to have a university-to-university agreement so that we can look for other ways in which we can continue to work together on everything from student exchanges, on developing programs together, faculty exchanges, cultivating that research that I was mentioning to you. We have a number of partnerships with other universities in India, and the last example I'll give is that as part of Together 2023 Startup India, just as an example of what can be done together, we have entrepreneurs in Canada. There are certainly many entrepreneurs in India. And when you think about startups and scale-ups and taking companies to the next level, being able to take a company global and understanding IP around that, that's really you need to understand the global stage when it comes to business. And as part of Together 2023, one of our colleagues at York connected India student entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs with York University entrepreneurs, as well as mentors, all of these well-established alumni from the Schulich School of Business who are now successful CEOs, to work together on particular ideas that they had to address some of the UN SDG issues. Now, moving forward, so what can we do now to really enhance this partnership that we have with Jindal and our overall goals in the country? We're going to extend that entrepreneurship partnership because we recognize that students at York, they really need to understand much better. India is one of the fastest growing markets in the world. And so we're going to design a 3-week entrepreneurship student tour where we're going to bring groups of our students to India to work with colleagues here, but also to meet with CEOs in India to better understand the market within the country. We've also set aside just recently a pot of seed money, and that money is going to be available for cultivating to support research partnership between colleagues at Jindal and colleagues at York University, as well as other universities within India. So just a couple of the ideas, and in addition to those ideas, of course, we're signing MOUs, we're looking for ways to develop programming together, such as dual degrees and so forth. So this is the goal. We've got a lot of different ideas, and again, just thanks to Jindal Global University, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have about how we see the opportunity going forward to really leverage our global strategies for the benefit of not just Canada and India, but frankly for the benefit of how we think about the future of the planet. Thanks very much.
And now they've already known us for a very long time. The purpose of this visit is for them to visit a few more institutions, to understand the wider Indian higher education sector, to meet with the vice chancellors and deans and faculty and students of these institutions, and in the next several weeks and months, they will be in a position to take an informed decision as to how they would like to take this forward. Allowed the President says.
So, I mean, look, there are different kinds of initiatives that work better for different specific partnerships, and you want to look at the whole range. So in some cases, what might make most sense is actually looking for a combination of doing 2 years in one university, 2 years in another university, so cultivating different kinds of student exchanges. some students can only do a very short period away. So we also want to have just 2 or 3 week concentrated opportunities for learning where students from York would go to a university in India or vice versa, students coming from India to us. Very focused, maybe even on a micro-credential, for example, that's very helpful from a competitive point of view. We want to cultivate, as I said, faculty doing research together. You know, York University has the only space engineering program in universities in Canada. India is doing incredibly fascinating things in the space field. So is there an opportunity for us to collaborate from a research point of view? That's one of the reasons why you want to put this seed money aside. And let me just give you one other example on the entrepreneurship piece. You know, what we're finding in terms of our programming around entrepreneurship is that when it's embedded in the programs, students really want an opportunity to have an international entrepreneurship opportunity. They want to be able to go and work with a company for a few weeks outside of their own country. So that's another idea. You know, we've got the associate dean here from the Lausanne School of Engineering. They've got a couple of programs where students actually spend a disproportionate 50 to 80% of their time with a company. So if we can pull in an international learning opportunity as part of that, it really enhances the learning and the cultivation of the talent in both directions.
OP Jindal is signing with MoU with Japanese only for law or schools or something?
No. So that we had a relationship for the last almost 10 years. This MoU that we have signed will collaborate with all schools of the university. We have 12 different schools, and the vision is to build a wide-ranging, comprehensive collaboration partnership with York University.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, do you have any plans to set up your campus in India?
Sorry. Wasn't the question. I just got a campus in India. So I want to emphasize. Okay, we have a campus already, a small campus. Thank you. Let me just try this one more time. So we've had this small campus in Hyderabad since 2013. It's very focused, it's a capped program, so it's capped at 60 per in 1 year. It's a very popular program, and the students really like the fact that they can do 1 year in Hyderabad and then 1 year. It's the best of both worlds in a way, because when you can do 1 year in India, it cuts down the cost, obviously, of living outside country, but they still get the full international experience by spending the second year in Toronto. But at this point, even though the national education policy is now making it easier to set up new campuses, setting up a new campus is very complicated. We learned that with our Hyderabad campus. There's many complexities. India is investing heavily in its own education system. So at this time, we think it's better to work in partnership collaboratively with universities that are inside of India already to take the full advantage of our mutual strengths, but not necessarily moving to set up or to expand another campus.
And the safeness of Canada as a whole, as a country, but also York University campuses. And so you have what many organizations, including the United Nations, say is one of the most, if not the most, multicultural city in the world. And so students coming from all over the world, as they do to York, can find a home inside of the university and the surrounding community. And then it is the engagement opportunities that those students have to experience Canada, but also to experience the Costa Rica campus and other places as well. And so to me, that comprehensiveness, that excellence, as the president's mentioned, as well as the opportunities for students are singular in Canada, in my opinion. Thank you.
How many Indian students took up this space engineering program?
How many Indian students can do space engineering?
Space engineering field. Sorry? Do you know the total number of students in engineering?
No.
Yeah.
She told already.
Yeah.
2000 out of 2000, how many?
I don't think they might have that. They don't have that.
See, what is the
Yeah, maybe I can add some number from my faculty. And by the way, I'm Raymond, Dean of Faculty of Science. And in our faculty of science, our international student population, 13% of them are Indian students. And if you allow me also, I want to add something else, talk about the distinguishing factors, why differentiate York University from other universities. One additional thing, international students as well as domestic students at York University, we treat them not only as numbers, we treat each student as individual talent, and they deserve the full attention. For example, in my faculty, and we have about 4,300 science students in my own faculty, each student has one faculty member and one academic advisor assigned to them. So this is really rare in the big university. So students really have received personalized, individualized education.
So as you've been saying that there's a lot of safety things in Canada, particularly the multicultural thing that.
You know, as I said, I'm a quantitative sociologist. And when you pull out one incident that happened, it's as serious as it may be, I can give you 10 or 20 in any other university. So it's not really the best way to approach the question about whether or not the campus is safe. It is one of the safest campuses, and these incidences are very rare. But I also want to say that if any incident happens, we've got a campus safety and security office. We do a diagnostic. We have a very good relationship with the Toronto Police. So we can call them and get their assistance immediately. As I just said, we just undertook a whole review and looked at best practice around campus safety and security around the world. We've hired a brand new executive director. We hired a committee that involved staff, students, faculty, outside experts. They just submitted to me as president a set of recommendations. I've agreed to endorse all those recommendations. So now we have an implementation committee, and they're about now to start working on the implementation, because we feel we can always do better. There's always things you can do better. And I think it's incredibly important that if any kind of incident happens, if you're a university, you have a higher standard than any general person in the population of caring for your community. And so that's just some of the steps that we have taken to make sure that we are doing everything we can to provide our students with a safe and welcoming and inclusive environment.
Right. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll take a photo opportunity now.
My name is Rajkumar. I'm the founding Vice Chancellor of OP Jindal Global University in Haryana, India. We are here with the President of York University in Canada, Professor Rhonda Lenton, and her team of colleagues, the deans of the various schools. The purpose of our visit to Chennai is to essentially bring in a stronger imagination for Canadian higher education in India, and to also promote the role and responsibilities of higher education and to what extent York University can contribute to fulfilling the aspirations of students in the state of Tamil Nadu, but also beyond. We have signed the Memorandum of Understanding with York University, OP Jindal Global University and York University. We had this relationship for the last 10 years, and now we have expanded it to building a university-wide relationship. The purpose of York University's visit is to expand and deepen that engagement further. They have been visiting a number of institutions in different parts of India, including in the state of Tamil Nadu. Now I request President Rhonda Lenton to share a few perspectives.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we are very committed, core to our academic plan, to globalization, understanding the imperative of working with other universities in other countries, especially like-minded countries, where we can ensure that we are continuing to cultivate the talent that is needed, and that we can partner and collaborate and act as conveners across sectors, across countries, in responding to and addressing the set of the poly crisis in terms of the variety of different kinds of challenges facing the world today. So we are absolutely here to work and to expand, to deepen our relationship with Jindal Global University, but also to learn more about the higher education system in India and to strengthen our collaborations and our partnerships with other universities inside of the variety of regions in India.
You said current strength of Indian students is 2,000. How many students student strength will increase after this memorandum of understanding and all these things?
So overall,